Hello, hello. It is Tuesday, July 14th. I'm Manila Chan. That over there be Ted Rall. You're tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI Show for short, because we bring you way too much information. We do it live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So please be sure to hit the like and the follow button and subscribe to the program to get all the exclusive content that we're planning to put forth now that I'm babyless in the belly. So I have a little more. I don't even know if energy is the right word, Ted, because I'm sleep deprived now, but I don't have that pregnancy brain fog. It's finally like clearing out of my system. And I tried to, I saw a report recently that said that that's not real.
Oh, really?
Yes. Like, excuse me, man that wrote this article.
So maybe women are just lying and like.
Yeah, that's it. Pregnancy brain fog, not real, according to some man that wrote this article. I don't know what his agenda was, but anyway, we're working on other exclusive content. So please become a subscriber to the program. $5 a month helps keep Robbie on the show with us because all that $5 goes straight to us, and Rumble does not take a cut. So that's a big thing for us. But at the very least, let us stream. Let Putinbot Gaming, his playlist stream. That'll help Robbie. We're doing a call to action, of course, because Robbie lost another revenue stream, and if we don't get some revenue going for Robbie, we're going to lose Robbie as a commentator, as a producer. But I think we get to keep you as a friend, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, yesterday, and seriously, I just wanted to just say a huge thank you and a shout out because we picked up over there on the gaming channel over 200 watch hours yesterday, which is insane. So that was good. We hit all the metrics. Now it's just all gravy. So the more watch hours we get, just the more I get paid. And so basically, I was getting paid $1,000 a month by John, which is half of my paycheck. So if I'm able to, if the gaming channel is able to absorb that, then it's fine. And here's the best. I'm not asking for a dime of your money. Just let videos run.
Yeah. When you go to bed, just let it stream, let it play on Rumble. When you wake up, Robbie gets to collect income from Rumble.
Yep.
Paying for stream hours. So easy as that. Not planned, but I'm going to put this up there. I'll let each of you guys have a quick comment on this. This is an infographic ranking the world's most powerful countries using data from the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School 2026 Best Countries Index. I guess they put that out every year based on a survey of 15,131 adults across 33 countries. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
100%.
Yep, looks good.
Okay. U.S., the good old U.S. of A. is the most powerful country. First place, second place, China. Third place, people perceive Russia. Fourth place, UK.
How are they defining power?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I'll tell you.
It's a shadow.
Fifth place, Germany. And surprise, Laos, number 10. I'm just kidding.
I was like, what?
Not true. Nobody's even heard of Laos. Don't be ridiculous. It's based on overall power perception of like their economies, their military, and just overall how much they flex in the world. So Russia, number 3, even though Russia's like, I think a top 11 economy, maybe top 10
I guess invading a neighbor is a flex.
I guess it's a flex. China, no invasions, but number 2. But I'm sure it has to do with that PPP that we were talking about, that price parity something. But the United States still ranking number 1 relative power. Japan, who is on the schedule to be discussed today, down here. So it's USA, China, Russia, UK, Germany, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, France, Japan, UAE, and then Israel over India.
I mean, UAE and Israel, considering how small they are, that's astonishing that they're ahead of India.
Yeah, ahead of freaking India, and India ahead of Canada, ahead of Turkey, and then Italy. After Italy, Iran, Switzerland, Ukraine. They put Ukraine on this. Australia, Spain, Brazil, Singapore, Sweden, Netherlands, Belgium, Kuwait, Denmark, Mexico, Egypt, Vietnam, South Africa, Norway, Indonesia, Poland, Portugal, Belarus, Austria, Argentina, Finland, and last, Bangladesh.
It's an insult. The United States is losing a war to Iran, and Iran's not even on the list.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah, good point.
I mean, think
Remember,
about it.
this is a survey, though. This is not based on some sort of analysis of economies or
No,
military strength. This is about
this is Joe Schmo's
yeah.
impression.
This is like just asking dudes. So it's like
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
But it's war porn. None of it's real. I mean, think about this. Power is relative. Power resides with whoever it is that the population believes it resides with. It's all a mind screw. You have power because I believe that you have power. It's the same way with nations.
Right.
I believe that you are able to dominate me, therefore you're able to dominate me. I believe you are a great power, therefore I must submit to your sphere of influence. But what happens when that illusion starts to break apart? That's why I don't really, because I mean, if you're looking at this, demographics has to play into it. Japan's is a demographic winner. So is South Korea. So how could they possibly rank as high as they are? Because those nations are they are destroying themselves. They're killing themselves.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
is national suicide. So how could you possibly be ranked that high?
I don't know, but there they are, South Korea. Like that's very high up. I'm actually quite shocked because they also are America's lapdog.
By the way, they also have one of the highest suicide rates in the world.
They have the highest.
Are they more than Japan now?
Yeah. South Korea has the highest suicide rate. More people died in South Korea over the last 5 years than have been born. I mean, the entire society
died of suicide or of all causes?
just total
all death.
Just death. So suicide, car wreck, whatever. It's just
more deaths than births.
Just the morbidity. Yeah. Yes. No, Japan has a problem in that right now the diaper industry makes more money off of adult diapers than they do off of newborns. South Korea is taking it to a whole new level. Wow. So if you value a high IQ advanced society like this, which I think we should, the South Asians or the East Asians need to get their heads on straight and start having babies because they are literally destroying themselves.
Wow. Yeah. Like we said, this is just asking Joe Schmo, 15,000 plus Joe Schmoes and Jane Schmoes on the street, what countries they view as the most powerful, and most respondents said the U.S.
All right.
So yeah, that be that. Robbie, any more housekeeping we got to do? Any ads?
Nope. We will be rating Putinbot Gaming after this, and there's no ads right now.
Okay, so please stay tuned to drop Robbie a line so he hits the chat metrics. That's another thing, so Robbie can continue to be a content creator at Rumble to help get him paid. So there be that. All right, let's roll. Oh, I meant to put Robbie away. Bye-bye, Robbie.
Bye-bye.
All right. So who really runs Venezuela? A controversial new claim revives an old debate about American power. A provocative report circulating online, this is from the New York Times, the report that they're referring to, has sparked a familiar question in Latin American politics. Has the United States become the real power behind Venezuela's government? The claim, drawing attention from a recent New York Times report and subsequent commentary, is that Secretary of State Marco Rubio now exerts extraordinary influence over Venezuela's affairs, allegedly shaping sanctions policies, approving key government decisions, and wielding influence so extensive that critics have labeled him the country's de facto viceroy. I mean, the investigation went on to say that it goes all the way down to like official tweets, and like if they put out anything on YouTube or whatever, Then it goes through Rubio. That's crazy. Those are serious allegations. Washington possesses enormous leverage. For years, U.S. sanctions have profoundly affected Venezuela's economy, particularly its oil sector. The United States also plays a central role in determining whether sanctions are tightened, eased, or lifted, decisions that can have immediate consequences for Venezuela's government, businesses, and ordinary citizens. That reality fuels a much broader criticism. Opponents of U.S. foreign policy argue that modern empires don't always rely on military occupation. Instead, they use financial sanctions, diplomatic recognition, access to international banking, intelligence cooperation, and economic pressure to shape the political decisions of weaker nations. From this perspective, influence can become so extensive that sovereignty exists on more on paper than it does in practice. Supporters of US policy there strongly reject that characterization. So that means the State Department says that's not true. They argue sanctions are legitimate tools designed to pressure authoritarian governments, combat corruption, and encourage democratic reforms. Well, I don't remember sanctions on Ukraine, Ted, because I feel like a lot of the arms and money somehow got down to south of our border to the Mexican cartels.
I don't remember any sanctions on any number of dictatorships in places like Central Asia or the Central African Republic, where
Yeah.
the United States curries favor. I don't remember the U.S. imposing any sanctions on Turkmenbashi, even though he was the absolute dictator of Turkmenistan.
So none of that. They also note that Venezuela's political crisis stems from years of domestic economic collapse, political repression, and institutional dysfunction that predate many current sanctions. Underscore current sanctions, Ted. We've had sanctions on Venezuela since Hugo Chavez first stepped into office. So, the better part of 30 some odd years. Very similar to what we saw happen with Cuba. So the debate ultimately raises a larger question. At what point does influence become control? History is filled with examples of powerful nations exercising enormous sway over smaller ones without formally annexing them, whether that's diplomacy, strategic partnership, coercion, or a modern form of empire, often depends on where one stands politically. Whatever the answer, the controversy surrounding Venezuela reflects a broader geopolitical reality. In the 21st century, power is often exercised not through occupation, but through finance, technology, trade, and international institutions. And those forms of influence can be just as consequential as armies. I would argue that's it. The modern form of occupation is more consequential than having, boots on the ground there, because we've seen, well, I mentioned Cuba. I mean, 60 some odd years of crushing US sanctions. They've managed to survive, thankfully, through partnerships with, other nations, and have emerged actually as a medical powerhouse, right? I don't know how they do it, but I guess when you have to MacGyver everything, you start
Yeah.
thinking outside of the box.
Yeah.
And you figure out how to fucking cure certain cancers that America, the most powerful country in the world, cannot. Enough now, Ted, that they're doing this cancer vaccine thing. Cuba is in cooperation with I think the SUNY school. Is it SUNY Buffalo or SUNY Buffalo, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
State University Buffalo. Okay, yeah, SUNY. They just launched that recently, like a year or two ago. But yet we still have Uncle Sam's jackboot still on their throats, right? And I feel like the same thing is going to happen with Venezuela. Delcy Rodriguez is nothing more than a puppet shadow leader of really she is the puppet, and Marco Rubio has his hand way up her backside. But according to that New York Times report, he literally is like the de facto king, because maybe that's why he's like so tired looking lately, Ted. He's busy chasing Trump around. He's busy being wooed by some of the neocon donors for 2028, and he's super swamped with Venezuela. Mind you, he's Latino and he speaks Spanish, presumably, but he's Cuban. So I don't know what he does with Delcy Rodriguez, but according to the New York Times, he's like in the nitty gritty, Ted. They can't tweet. The state can't tweet without Rubio approving it first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the New York Times article is highly credible, well reported, highly well sourced, and more importantly, has not been denied by the administration at all. You and I both know the ways of official Washington. If this wasn't true, or there was a chance it wasn't true, there'd be pushback from the White House, and there's been none, which means it's all true. And I actually don't see why they would deny it anyway, because it totally fits into, what they're. It fits into their narrative. Like, we run. Trump's been very clear. We run Venezuela, and we take its resources for our own personal profits, like a colony. I think this is all true. I think it's 100% true. Then basically what's happened here is that after the overthrow or after the kidnapping of Maduro and his wife, the administration told Delcy Rodriguez, listen, play ball with us, do what we say. When we say jump, you ask how high, and we will let you remain in power, and you can become our Marshal Petain, you can be our Vichy leader of Venezuela, and you'll give us your country's resources, and you'll do everything that we say. It's pretty unpatriotic and treasonous of her to agree. I can see why someone would be tempted, because it's like, well, I can maybe mitigate it. I can mitigate the harm, but the truth is, it's treasonous to the people of Venezuela.
Her dad, who was from the Socialist Party, he was a political leader there, and Karina Maria Machado,
right?
Mouthful. Her dad, the two dads had beef, and Machado's dad killed Rodriguez's dad. So these two women have rose to various forms of power in the deaths of their fathers, or one father. I don't know if the other dad is still alive, but presumably he died of natural causes. They'd be too old, probably. But anyway, Machado's dad killed Rodriguez's dad, and Machado just won the Nobel Peace Prize that she dedicated to Donald Trump. So in that family, Ted, they have a long history of playing ball with the U.S., a long history of happily going along like Vichy, like the Vichys. So, I mean, what else can poor Delcy do? I mean, I'm sure somebody made her an offer that she couldn't refuse.
Right. Well, that's what happened. I mean, obviously she should have refused it. She should have been like, fuck you. You're going to have to destroy the entire country if you want us to submit. But that's not what she did. I can see why she didn't. It's not what the decision I would have made. I would have never been in that position. I mean, I think it's reprehensible what she's doing. Disgusting, really. Look, people who do this kind of thing, who, you saw The Last Emperor, who ends up, as the Japanese puppet ruler of occupied Manchu Guo. You see what happens to people like that. They're always hated, overthrown, and reviled by history. Petain, all those people. And that's what happens. So
what happens to Venezuela next then?
She'll be overthrown. There'll be a revolution. I
You
mean,
think
look,
so?
There will absolutely be a socialist revolution that will overthrow her. No question.
You think there'll be, besides U.S. intervention of one form or another, do you think there's going to be other Latin countries that would step in that are friendly to her? Because they're kind of all over the place right now. We saw a big pink wave.
No one ever stands up for a fucking Quisling. No, she's gone. Her days are numbered. She has a target on her back. And the country will end up further to the left than it ever was under Hugo Chavez.
Really? You think it'll swing further?
Oh, there's going to be hammers and sickles in Caracas. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Within 5 years, I'd say. If not sooner.
Wow. Okay. Robbie says there's an ad. Is it still there, Robbie?
Yeah.
Have we lost? Okay. You want to pop that up before we get to the next story?
Sure. 1 second. Let me grab it here real quick, boys and girls. Here we go. I'm going to cover you up, Ted. I'll cover the cute Asian. That would be racist. You probably noticed Rumble is growing fast. It's not slowing down. They're building real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech. And now there's Rumble Premium, an easy way to upgrade your experience. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform, no pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content you came for. Plus, Premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scenes drops, and more from your favorite creators. Right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription. Just go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO at checkout. That's rumble.com/premium, promo code STUDIO. No ads, more freedom, and the content you actually care about. That is the deal.
Thank you, Robbie. All right, let's get to the next topic.
For more than 80 years, Japan has been one of the world's great economic powers, but as an intelligence power, it's a lightweight. That could change. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is moving forward with her plans to create a centralized National Intelligence Bureau and National Intelligence Council, the most significant overhaul of the country's intelligence apparatus since World War II. The goal is to unify info scattered across the military, police, foreign ministry, and other Japanese agencies into one organization capable of analyzing threats and coordinating national security. Following Japan's defeat in 1945, the country's wartime intelligence and military police organizations were, of course, dismantled. Post-war regimes deliberately avoided creating a domestic intelligence service of any note, partly because of painful memories of the Kempeitai, whose role in political repression left a lasting distrust of such institutions. The intelligence functions were divvied up between the multiple agencies previously mentioned, with limited coordination. Critics complained that that fragmentation left the country vulnerable to spying, cyber attacks, and foreign influence operations. So now, however, China's military expansion, North Korea's missile and cyber programs, Russia's increasingly assertive posture, and growing concerns over economic espionage have now convinced many Japanese that post-war security model no longer works. This is part of a broader agenda under Takaichi, who's a right-winger, of course. Her government has increased defense spending, relaxed restrictions on exporting weapons, proposed stronger counter-espionage legislation, and is considering a Japanese version of the U.S. investment review process to protect sensitive technology. So in other words, if a foreign country, like say a Chinese company wanted to buy a Japanese tech company, that would have to be approved of by the Ministry of Defense. Supporters say these reforms are long overdue. Opponents are worried about government surveillance and eroding civil liberties. And so, it's basically this question of how far past World War II, the post-war era, are they willing to go back to? It's actually it's worrisome. It's that whole when the last time Japan acted like this, bad things happened. So, do we?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been brewing the last 10 years, and obviously you having worked in country there and worked for a company there, you understand the culture and you've traveled there. I've never been there. Ted's been to more Asian places than I have, truly.
Weird.
But I know from my reporting over the past 15, 17 years, when Shinzo Abe was alive and still in office, he was starting to reconstitute a form of the military. They have a National Guard, but he was trying to get the gears in action to make them an outward-facing military, and working on recruitment and working on, like are we going to do this like Israel? So they're going to do that. And that's reportedly why the guy made a homemade ghost gun and shot and killed him in the street after he was out of office. Was he was an anti-war protester, reportedly, that he didn't want Japan to return to its imperial roots, obviously, because of the ugly history that Japan has. So yeah, when Japan starts marching in this direction, you start seeing this, I don't know, especially with this lady in power, with Takaichi in power, it almost seems like she wants to echo a bygone era of Japan. And that's what I always say about, I'm sorry to down on my own sex, my own gender, but whenever a woman is in power in some large, I know they're not large, but powerful, at least perceived powerful country, the women tend to try to overflex to try to prove they have bigger balls than their male predecessor. And it's often more dangerous because it is a boys' club. And admittedly, I know that politics is a boys' club, but the women go in and try to overflex to show that they have bigger balls than the man. And I feel like what she's trying to do here is swing her spirit dick and be like, we're doing CIA type stuff now and building an outward facing army. But for what, Ted? They have a fucking dying population. They're not making babies. Their economic prowess has dropped in the past 10 years relative to the last 40.
I would say 20. The last
20, wow.
Ever since the big real estate meltdown in the 90s. I mean, it's been rough for them.
Yeah, and as Robbie says, he's saying they got to make babies before they can become a military power. But that's the thing.
They can't make babies. They don't have any place they can fuck. They're all living. They live in see the studio in Tokyo. This is like an apartment for 27 people in 3 generations. I mean, it's like they don't have any.
Is it because of price?
Yeah. Japan has multi-generational mortgages, so they have 120-year mortgages. So it's like, oh, I inherited my mortgage from grandma, and because like. It's not at all unusual for a modest apartment in Tokyo to cost $5 million. So the prices are crazy. So there's no one can afford anything. So no one has any room where they can actually place their penis inside someone's vagina and cause a baby to happen.
So do you think then this lady is trying to create an NSA and CIA for domestic surveillance to kind of because maybe she senses there's
part of it.
Something they're losing the grip on their people.
I don't know if they're losing their grip on their people, but I mean, I'm sure governments are always trying to plan for worst case scenarios, and I mean, I don't see the Japanese.
The Okinawans don't want to be a part of it.
It's not Venezuela. The Japanese aren't spicy. They're not going to do anything.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I mean, look, this is all part of her right wing thing, right? She's a militarist.
Oh.
I mean, I think this is it's not exactly about creating the greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere again. It's not about that, but it's basically, I think, about fuck China. They're not the only game in the Pacific Rim. We can exert military strength. Again, we can be a counterweight to China. As I would tell Donald Trump in fucking around with Iran, no, you can't. You really can't. You can't. This is a fight you cannot win, and therefore you should not fight.
Robbie, pre World War II was the last time, and they were Imperial Japan back then. That was the last time they had an intelligence agency and Stasi, basically. What did that look like?
It was very well. I mean, one of the ways that really the fastest mode of political advancement back then was through assassination. So I mean, they were always assassinating prime ministers. They were assassinating government officials. I mean, it was it was kind of like the night of the long knives, but the Japanese did it in a very Asian way instead of just happening in one night. They kind of spread out over 20 years.
Oh.
And that's
But I mean,
what
did they go outward? Did their CIA do as dirty, nasty stuff as our CIA?
Oh yeah. I mean, for example, I mean, it depends on how you define the term. So Japanese intelligence, they staged one of the most famous false flags in history called the Marco Polo incident back in 1937. I think it was, could have been 36. I think it's 37, where the Japanese attacked the Japanese army and made it look like it was the Chinese that did it. And it sparked this international incident. And that's when the Japanese went in. That's when they occupied Manchuria. They reinstalled Emperor P. That was his name. It was Emperor P. Not a joke. And he was. They made him the puppet emperor of Manchukuo. And so the way they phrased it, the way the Japanese did it, was they were going to save Japan from Western colonialism and install the emperor. So basically, they didn't sell the war as if they were going to conquer China and exploit it, which is exactly what they did. I mean, they were butchers to the highest order. They sold the war as if we are going to save Asia from Western imperialists by massacring.
Japan was going to be the savior.
Yeah. No, there'll be a few massacres every once in a while, but that tends to happen. And Japan was also very militaristic, so they would have. So in order to be a teacher, you had to go through the military, and so half of the school curriculum was reading, writing, and arithmetic. The other half of it was ROTC. Everyone was out marching, learn how to march, learn how to drill, learn how to fight with spears and stuff. It was a very militaristic society, and it's not. Listen, Japan now is at a point where the Japanese people need to decide what kind of country are they going to be. First, do they want to have a country anymore? Because they're not having children. So some people are saying, well, then you need to open up your borders and import the entire fucking third world. Japan doesn't need to be Japanese anymore. The Japanese population is rejecting that. So no, we're not going to do that. Japan's going to stay Japan. We're not going to commit suicide like France and the United States is doing.
Well, not to mention they're an extremely racist society.
Well,
There's
of course.
that.
I mean, it's a homogeneous society. I mean, they have been ever since. I mean, listen, their emperor supposedly on the night of his coronation has sex with the sun goddess Amaterasu. So it's a divine lineage. So if you're a divine people, then this is how it's going to be, right? But now Japan's got a problem. If Ted's right, and it's because there's no place you have no place to fuck and have kids, immediately right there across the sea is this really big country with a lot of open land. It's called China. And just to the northwest of it is this really big country with a lot of open land called Japan, called Russia. If the Japanese need land, you can sit back and play for it. No one expects them to ever go after the Russians. They did it before, they lost, but no. History.
They couldn't possibly entertain fucking with China now.
Why not?
Because China's standing army would fucking crush them if need be. I mean, the Chinese memory, just because they're like zen and chill right now and not trying to be all invadey, doesn't mean that they can't. Sure. And it doesn't mean that they won't flex if they need to. The sleeping dragon has a long memory. They know what happened, one or two generations back.
No, I agree.
And I think that's, unless the US was going to back Japan doing some crazy shit like that, there's no way they could pull that off against China. Zero chance.
Well, I think that's what they're really waiting for is if a war breaks out between the United States and China, Japan will 100%
over Taiwan,
get involved.
Let's say, or
because of the entire objective is to nations always have interests that they have to work for. Japan, they're demographically they're dying. If it's over real estate, then you're going to do whatever it is that you have to do to get more real estate, because the alternative is that you die. And so that is the decision that they have to make. Nations that are desperate do not do rational things. The attack on Pearl Harbor was not a rational act. It was a last desperate act of a major power
right.
that was facing destruction in the face.
Power.
It's just like either we do this or we die.
Yeah.
And
so I think that's right.
And so I think that's probably what will happen.
I think that's what we're looking at here is Takaichi taking the country into this hard right turn. So far right that you start curving to fascism. And I don't think they're that far off. And if you have a dying, literally a dying population, because you have more old people than babies, then who's going to stand up to say, fuck that, we want a democracy, we don't want fascism?
Democracy is obviously not working for them. I mean, think about this.
It's worked the last 50 years. It's done them pretty good.
Yeah, unless you want to have a family, in which case you don't. Or if you want to work a 60-hour work week, fine. But if
you're kind of hopeless, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the point. One of the measurements. This isn't the only measurement, but it is a measurement of how happy a society is how many children do they have, and do they want the line to continue? Sad, depressed nations have low birth rates.
That's true.
Well, how do you then address this issue? You cannot boot your way out of it. What you have to do is that you have to become authoritarian, and you have to change the culture. Here's, for example, when the early days of the Soviet Union, Ted, you can back me up on this. The Soviets, they made a bunch of historical dramas depicting the defeat of the Teutonic Knights on the Lake of Ice, and a lot of these just reaching back to their history. We are proud. We are a proud people. We have a heritage. We are not on our knees. You reach back to your history. If the Japanese government starts doing that, and they start making historical dramas, lifting up their history from the days of the shogun and the daimyo and these other things and military prowess, and really trying to make you proud to be Japanese. If the Japanese media start making movies like that, mark my words, that's not for entertainment value. That is to drive the culture of the nation and prepare them for a bigger war that they have got to win.
I'm not a history buff.
I mean, that's how it happens.
Don't look at me.
Ted, am I right or am I wrong?
No, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think the chances of the Japanese being able to fix this problem, I think, are slim to none. But
you got to do something. The alternative is death.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
So then, if you don't go after China, you go after the Philippines. One or the other.
I think the Japanese are a doomed people. But
yikes.
It could be.
We're just raining on everybody's parade today. Yeah. And Mr. A. Lee says, Robbie, it's pay, not pee-pee. Pay.
Fair enough. I appreciate it. It's that Anglo.
We got 2 more stories to do. We got to go.
China, though. China's the gorilla.
Pay.
All right.
Oh, I believe it. Okay, so what if Alzheimer's doesn't actually start in the brain? Scientists are rethinking
what if God begins in your buttocks.
Scientists are rethinking one of medicine's biggest mysteries. Like, isn't that crazy, Ted, that Alzheimer's is still a mystery for?
True.
I mean, obviously, Joe Biden, who had access to the best care in the world, they didn't, they still haven't diagnosed him with that, Ted. Just ball cancer.
True.
Just because Alzheimer's is a mystery.
Dementia. The question is, does he have Alzheimer's?
He does, I'm sure. Come on. For decades, Alzheimer's disease has been viewed as a disorder that begins inside the brain. Researchers focused on sticky amyloid beta plaques and tau tangles, believing these abnormal proteins were the primary drivers of memory loss and cognitive decline. Billions of dollars have been spent trying to remove them. Now, a growing body of research is raising a provocative question. What if Alzheimer's begins somewhere else entirely? Scientists are increasingly investigating whether the disease may originate in the body's immune system, or maybe your gut, your liver, blood vessels, or even your mouth, years before symptoms ever appear. Rather than viewing Alzheimer's as a purely neurological disorder, many researchers now believe it may be a whole body disease, with the brain becoming the final victim rather than the starting point. One leading theory centers on chronic inflammation. Inflammation helps protect the body during infections or injuries, but when it becomes persistent, inflammatory molecules can circulate through the bloodstream, weaken the blood brain barrier, and activate immune cells inside the brain. Over time, that process may contribute to the accumulation of that amyloid or tau, or perhaps occur even before those hallmark proteins even appear. Other scientists are studying the gut microbiome, where trillions of bacteria influence immunity, metabolism, and inflammation. Changes in gut bacteria have been linked to altered brain chemistry in both animal and human studies, fueling interest in the so-called gut-brain axis. I'm a big believer in that. Meanwhile, to research continues into whether chronic gum disease, viral infections, insulin resistance, and cardiovascular disease may all contribute to Alzheimer's risk through interconnected biological pathways. This doesn't mean the amyloid theory has been abandoned. Amyloid plaques and tau tangles remain the defining features of Alzheimer's, and recently approved anti-amyloid drugs can modestly slow cognitive decline in some patients. But many researchers now suspect those proteins are part of the story, not the entire story. The implications could be profound. If Alzheimer's begins years or even decades before memory problems develop, prevention may depend less on treating the brain after symptoms appear and more on protecting overall health throughout life. That means controlling blood pressure, exercising regularly, maintaining metabolic health, treating gum disease, reducing chronic inflammation, and supporting a healthy gut may all prove to be part of the same strategy. The biggest shift isn't that scientists have solved Alzheimer's, it's that they're beginning to ask a very different question than they did 20 years ago. And sometimes asking the right question is the first step toward finding the right answer. I'm no scientist, obviously, Ted, but there are plenty of studies that I have read, that are published, like at the NIH, and published at the CDC, published at the PubMed, that everybody can go to. You'll find some interesting research papers, and that's not saying that the U.S. government backs all of these things, but these are published white papers from a lot of like brainy PhD people. That I would believe inflammation and the gut microbiome theory could really be a thing. I think a lot of the things I read from all of these previous white papers I've gone through over the years is that people that tend to have like a lot of um, uh, cholesterol problems, right? Even if you're thin, if you're somebody, I know somebody that's thin but has a fatty liver, right? Like, I'm not saying you, but I know somebody that's thin and female and has a fatty liver. And I mean, sometimes you're just genetically programmed for that, right? And those are people that tend to lean towards becoming, an Alzheimer's patient and put in one of those 24-hour care homes. I don't know about Joe Biden, but I would wager that he probably has cholesterol issues. And how do you get cholesterol issues? Oftentimes, it's years and years of diet and putting fatty, high LDL bad cholesterol into your body from the foods. It's from the foods you eat. So it has nothing to do with whether you're fat or skinny, tall or short. I've seen enough from my grandmother's cohort that come in all shapes and sizes. And she had Alzheimer's, she had Parkinson's, and I could say, looking back at my grandmother's personal health history, I would say a lot of it has to do with the food sources, gut microbiome, cholesterol, inflammation.
No, I mean, look, it makes sense. Obviously, we're continuing to investigate. It's a huge problem that affects tens of millions of Americans and their families. So obviously, it's got to be figured out as soon as possible. But there's a lot of trails to follow here. So that's what they're doing. So
yeah, I'm happy that they're looking into it, right? Because like you and I have Alzheimer's has affected our families like immediately, right? Immediate family members, and hopefully, Ted, by the time we get to that phase, they'll at least they'll know that when you start babbling and doing weird shit like Joe Biden, it's already you're far too gone. You're gone, baby, gone. So I think the place to look now, all the places they've been looking in the brain have led them to dead ends over the past 40 years. Like there's been no real advancement from what I've seen. But I'm glad they're looking elsewhere because you guys, all you brainy science people are circling the same fucking pond and you're fishing in the same pond and it's turning no new results. So look elsewhere.
Agreed. For decades, Americans were told that if they worked hard, saved, and invested well, retirement would take care of itself. Of course, not so much. A new survey by Alliance Life Insurance Company found that 67% of Americans are now more afraid of running out of money in retirement than they are of death. That's the highest level the company has ever recorded.
Give me money or give me death, Ted.
Literally, people are that afraid of running out of money. I guess you could just kill yourself if you ran out of money and then problem solved. Anyway, according to Bankrate, 34% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So basically, they have no money left after they pay their bills. Among workers earning under $50,000 a year, that number goes up to 43%. Even among those earning $100,000 or more, 1 out of 4 people still live paycheck to paycheck. Inflation, of course, isn't helping. While inflation has cooled a little bit since its peak, prices are still super high than they were before the pandemic. Bankrate reports that 62% of workers' income has not kept pace with their expenses. So obviously, they have a lot less purchasing power. If your paycheck barely covers the rent, groceries, insurance, and utilities, there isn't much left to invest for tomorrow, for retirement. That explains also why Social Security has become more important. 52% of non-retired Americans say they expect to rely on it to cover essential expenses in retirement. But 76%, I would be one of them, worry that they won't receive the full benefits they've been promised. Under current projections, the main Social Security trust fund will run out around 2033, after which incoming payroll taxes would fund most benefits. But unless Congress gets their shit together and does something about it, roughly they would cut benefits by 20 to 25%. So basically, a lot of people are worried sick about retirement. Look, I wrote about this years ago. This is something that we've seen coming like a very slow motion train coming towards you. This country has decided not to do anything about it. It's a perfect storm caused by a lot of problems. Like, for example, the 401ks replacing defined benefit retirement plans. The old traditional pensions that our parents got. 401ks are based on the how much you're willing or able to contribute. And then even if you contribute a lot of money to it, you can get wiped out in a stock market crash, right? So it's like, it always was a shitty system. And Americans just don't have any retirement savings. These days, I would think that you would need at least $1 million in savings to retire at the age of 65 and be able to sustain yourself reasonably in conjunction with Social Security. Most people don't. The vast majority of Americans can't have that. And with rising in costs and shrinking real incomes, people don't have the ability to save because we just don't earn enough. Unemployment is higher, lower worker participation rates. I mean, it's a clusterfuck. Basically, the United States is a poor country that pretends like it's not a poor country. But most people live in poverty in this country. And
for sure.
And it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, I do see it worsening. And I will say I was kind of shocked with that report that even people with 100K salaries, of course, I mean, we're not accounting necessarily for, a wife and 2 kids and a dog or whatever. But at 100K, that's hard to get by if you're a family of 4. At least in a big city. Like in this general area where I'm at, like if you're not making 100, like you're really scrimping and trying to live paycheck to paycheck. Here, if you're in the DMV metro or Los Angeles, like you couldn't live in Los Angeles with 100K if you were a family of 4. Like you wouldn't be able to have a house. You'd be squeezed into a 2-bedroom apartment in LA. So it's really bleak, Ted, like that that's what they're worried about is what happens in their old age. And what's telling to me is that because they're fearing this, they're not like the boomer generation in knowing that they can rest assured that the Social Security system is going to be there for them.
Yeah, totally.
That means Gen X, we know we're fucked. In the next few years, as we start aging into retirement age, I mean, Ted, you're the older of the X. I'm the youngest of the X. That's our reality. And certainly our children's generation, like my kids are Gen Alpha. Ted, your son's Z, a Zoomer. Certainly the Zoomers and the Alphas are there's going to be zilch, nothing for them in Social Security. So I think that's what, to me, like screamed the loudest was people are panicked right now. And I would say most people being in our age group, in the Gen X age group, we know that we're going to be fucked. And especially if they keep putting us on drugs to keep us alive longer than we want to be here, there's going to be no money left. And then certainly by the time our kids are of retirement age, there's going to be absolutely zilch, zero. There's going to have to be a new system in place. I don't know what that would be. I can't even begin to imagine what you can do. All I know is what I was taught was it's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep.
Yep.
That's all I was taught because I had poor immigrant parents. And so, I'm frugal. I am proud. I am frugal. I drove a piece of shit Volkswagen for many, many years until it finally died on me. I have no shame in drive. I don't care. I came from Los Angeles where people did care about, like, you live in some shithole apartment, out in Riverside County somewhere, right? But you have like a nice Mercedes. People wanted to like drive a, whatever, a Mercedes, a Jaguar, some fancy car, and they have no money in savings.
Right. A lot of people.
Thankfully, I'm not one of those people. I wasn't raised that way. I went through a phase. Everyone does. But then I shook myself out of it and was like, holy shit. What happens when I get old? Once you hit 30, you're like, oh, this gives me about 35 years. If nothing else happens to me, what if I have a health issue? What if, when your first friend dies, Ted, from some weird natural cause, right? That's when you start going, oh, shit, I really haven't saved anything. Well, shit. Well, I mean, Social Security will be there, right?
Yep. Well, that's it. Remember, Manila, we're having a show meeting with Robbie after this. So.
Oh, we got to go. So that be it, guys. Sorry to be Debbie Downers on a Tuesday, but this is where we're at.
Overthrow the government, install communism, everything will be fine.
Save your money.
Yeah, I forgot about the meeting, so we will not raid in the Poop Bike Gaming. No, hold on. It's perfectly fine. I'll just go live after the meeting. It doesn't matter. The stream's just going to happen. It's just not going to raid into it. Just keep it on your notifications.
Wait,
fine.
should we keep this running so the Rumble chat can continue and then you can raid?
No, it's fine.
No, because we have to have the show meeting, and then people would see us in the Rumble chat.
No, we remove ourselves from the screen. I can remove everybody and mute it.
No, it's fine.
But we need to talk to each other. No.
Oh, you want to talk on this? Okay, I
Yeah.
see what Ted's saying. Okay.
So
I
stay
see.
on.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys, viewers, please go to Putinbot Gaming after 15, 20 minutes or so. Robbie will be doing a live feed, so
Yep.
make sure, Robbie, you can post it on our TMI on Twitter, so that way
Yep.
folks can find the link if they can't find you.
Yep. No, I'll share it. I'm
Help-
just pop in
help-
like 30 minutes.
help
I'll be
Robbie.
live.
Okay, so in about 11:30, we'll call it
Yeah,
11:30.
somewhere in there. It's not
All
exact
right.
science. No, you're an Asian and you run on CPT, so it is what it is.
That's true. That's true. Adios, amigos. See you tomorrow. Weird News
Bye-bye.
Wednesday. Bye.